along with this little paper, then I need to do a little experiment. And pass it down to the back. Which one? Hold on. Alright, everybody good? The paper is for you to use for experiment later, not for you to read. Anyways, ask newspaper. Good evening, President. Hello, Toastmasters. Hello, classmates.
Good evening.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, guests. Good evening to you all.
Good evening.
So tonight I'd like to convince that many a time we actually talk what we did not communicate. Informed, but not thought through. There are many a time that the communications actually did not go through. And we did not actually seize and actually knows about the communications. Anyway, I'm going to do a small little experiment here today. All you in your hand, you actually have an old newspaper. I need you to do something for me. Take out the paper, tear it into half. Repeat the process. Tear it again. And tear it one more time. Are you all done? Can you actually show me the papers that you actually have torn and look around? You realize that you have all actually got the instructions, the same instruction from the same person, and that's me. But you realize that when a communication is not been understood, the consequences is, like you look around yourself, not anyone have actually the same similar shredded paper. If you guys have actually followed my instructions, you would have been 16 shredded newspaper. And then I would have actually wanted it to be equal. But when you look at it, most of it is actually some of bigger size and smaller size. The above experiment actually goes to say that if a communication is not being conveyed thoroughly, the consequences is that usually you end up having something else, or it's not exactly what you want. This actually goes to say that when you actually want to communicate, it's important that your recipient thoroughly understands what actually you have in mind. The Sun Tzu actually once said that in this Art of War, 将弱不言，教导不明，将之过也. It actually means that if a command is actually not clear and distinct, the orders is not actually understood, the fault lies with the commander. The word communications comes from the Latin word communicate, which actually means to share. We share every day. We communicate. We converse with our parents. We converse with our spouse, our children, our friends, our colleagues. We communicate. We converse and we converse. And we talk. We have actually conveyed our message. But have we? I'm sure in life sometimes we hear things like, I thought I already told you about that. Didn't you remember me saying that before to you guys? You see, very often we only realize that our recipient did not really receive our message or understood until very much later. And usually that will cause a little bit of frustration, sometimes embarrassment, and it can be very costly as well if there's actually a tender offer. Where's the marker? In a complete communications, there's always a sender. I'll put a mouth here. He talks, and he has a message, and it goes to a recipient who have the ear to listen. A communication is never complete if the recipient do not fully understand the message, and if he understands, the communication is complete. And many times, when we actually have a communication, it's not necessary to be through a dialogue or we talk. There are times when a coach, he actually gives instructions to his player at the sideline of a football pitch by using his hand. There are also instances whereby loving couples actually communicate through their eyes. I'm sure some of you here must have got this experience before when you got electrocuted by your partner. Anyway, the end of it basically is that we need to communicate. It's important that our end users actually realize who and knows exactly what we say. I recall when many years ago, I actually runs a factory operations in China. Basically, we design and produce merchandise for Fila, Adidas, Nike, and so on. There was one night, my production manager called me in the middle of the night because there's a dispute between these two production heads, and he could not handle it. And because of that, the whole entire production line came to a standstill. And my chum, we were rushing for a deadline. I rushed to the factory and went straight to a conference room, and there stood these two gentlemen shouting angrily at each other, despite the best effort by my manager to try to calm down the situation. I went in, sat down there for a short while, a couple of minutes, and then I left the room without saying a word. My action makes the two men stop shouting. I came back to the room a while later with two baseball bats. And I told them, and I give them to each one of it, and I told them that if you guys cannot settle your dispute, then I'll allow you guys to fight it out. The winner will get to keep his job, as well as the job of the loser. That's why. The fight didn't happen. They both got my message, we went back to work, we delivered our goods, and the best part of it is I heard later they became good friends. My friends, I hope tonight I'm able to convince you that at the end of which, a message is never been conveyed until your recipient fully understands. If I didn't manage to do that, then I suggest that you actually take back the shredded newspaper, flip it up. Hopefully over time, you'll get convinced. Thank you very much.